thank you for finding this room because that was the hardest part. So we're glad you were able to figure out how to come. I thought I was outside, so I was just running around all over the place. But anyway, so I'm D.R. Ransdell. Most of you know that, actually. And I am from Springfield. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you very much to the Carillon board that let me come, and Carl and Stephanie Malok that let me come here, and the Carillon Bells who have been working so hard for this festival. I got to come here 3 years ago and talk to this crowd, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun to have a chance to meet the other Carillonists now, and so I'm delighted to be here. And it's not even raining, so we're all really lucky. Yay! All right, so first of all, I guess I should explain that what I really do is write murder mysteries. Why? We all have people we would like to kill. Maybe 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 or anyway. So I do have a series that I write about a mariachi player. For those of you who don't play mariachi, we don't usually use music. We don't use sheet music, so you're watching the crowd and you see all kinds of things happen that you shouldn't see. So anyway, so I have a series about Andy Veracruz. I have a mystery that takes place in my cousin's hometown in Italy, because that's a lot of fun to use as an environment. And I've even set one mystery in Tucson. But I'm not going to talk about murder and deaths today. I'm going to talk about something different. I'm going to talk about the Campanello Travel series. So, first, I'm going to make a confession. This is terrible. My friends think it's kind of bad. My husband, I think he's on 50-50. But here's the truth. I have the travel bug. Now, I want you to know, I came by this rather honestly. When I was little, my grandpa's sisters, they started traveling like in the 60s and 70s when it kind of became available more for the middle class. And they sent postcards from everywhere. Egypt, Lebanon, Mexico. And they had these cool stamps, and I thought it was so exciting to see their postcards. And my grandma said, they're showing off. But I never thought that. I was always excited to see what they were doing. Well, then, slipping forward a little bit, well, my dad, sitting over there, he needed to work on his Spanish and German. So we spent summers in Mexico and Germany, and I was around language and traveling all the time. So when it was time for college, I wanted to be a language major because I wanted to spend a year studying abroad. I wanted to go to Italy, but my folks said, well, that's not very practical. You should go to Spain, work on Spanish. It's a more practical language. But of course, I'm not practical, so I did a semester in Florence, and then I did a semester in Barcelona, okay, just to get everything out of the way. But I have to tell you, that's not the right way to do things. No, it's not, because I couldn't get the Spanish out of my Italian and the Italian out of my Spanish, and by now I have it, but it wasn't the right thing. But anyway, what can I do? I love to travel. Last semester, I was going to have a sabbatical from school, so I had a chance to do what I wanted in the spring. So I was explaining it all to my mom. Oh, well, the best thing, we're going to go to Japan. We're going to go to Fukuoka, and then we're going to work our way up all the way to Sapporo. My mom said, how long are you going to do this all in? And I said, about 6 weeks. Isn't that great? And she said, do you remember what you said? I thought it sounded awful. That's what she said. She said, that sounds awful. Because here's the truth. Not everybody has the travel bug the way I do. But that's okay. Not everybody's the same. And when you have characters, of course, you can have them do any kind of thing. Well, I went ahead and got my degree to teach Spanish. So what did I do? I went to Mexico and taught English. Because that's what you do. You get a degree to do one thing, and then you do something completely different. That's just the way it works out. I don't know. Who can figure out how these things work out? But I love being in Mexico. So, well, actually, at first, I didn't love being in Mexico because my first job was teaching 5th graders. Yes. Those 5th graders were awful. they were terrible. They all knew each other. They were niños popis. They were rich kids at a private school, and they terrorized me. But then I started teaching adults, and they were great. I came in the first day and I said, "Open your books," and they did. And I loved them. Anyway, I also loved being in Mexico. I stayed down there, and I got lucky because I lived with a family that had brothers and sisters my age. Okay? But they were too lazy to learn English, so I got to practice Spanish all the time. The kids didn't want to be around their parents, so they would come up to my room, and we would gossip. My Spanish gossiping is very, very good. Just saying. Can't talk about technical stuff, but gossiping is okay. But the thing was, is we didn't have any money. We weren't getting paid very much at this school. So on Saturday nights, we would gather at Flavi's house. We would pass around a guitar and we would sing songs. It was really fun. Till 2 or 3 in the morning. And I took on a second job. I played in the orchestra because I played violin for a long time. So I had my school job, my orchestra job, and my Saturday nights that were full of songs. It was really great. But did I mention no money? A little bit of a problem. So I thought, okay, I don't want to be poor my whole life. So I thought about coming back to the States. And Springfield's obviously a very lovely place, but it's cold all winter and you can't tell me otherwise. So I looked for a job. I went out to Arizona actually, and people said it was Mexican. It was very Mexican. It was very warm, and that I would like it, and I really did. But I missed Mexico terribly. Well, I found out there was a woman in the mariachi over there. So I thought, well, if they have one, why not have another one? So I marched in one day and I said, well, hablo español, estoy buscando un trabajo. They looked at me like I was a little bit crazy because I don't look like I speak Spanish. And they thought, well, what the heck, we'll give her a job. She'll be terrible and she'll quit. But I got stubborn and I stayed. So for about 15 years, I played at a restaurant in mariachi. We played about 5 nights a week. And it was really, really fun, but it was hard. I wrote a whole book about it. But during that time, I started grad school and I went on a trip to Greece. The professor sent us out to a bouzouki club. And I heard bouzouki music live for the first time, and it was wonderful. I fell in love with Greek music, the sound of the music, and what was interesting was that even though with mariachi, we play mostly major keys, and the music is a little bit faster, but the Greek music, the setting was the same. People were out to have a good time, they were dancing, 2, 3 in the morning, it was wonderful, and I just fell in love with it. It was really, really good. And so, right after that, I started writing a dissertation, and that was not wonderful. No, it was terrible. So I bribed myself. I got to work on my novel after I spent an hour working on my dissertation. So, for my novel, I went to Greece. So every night, from about midnight to 1 o'clock, I was in Greece. And so I came up with my first published novel. It's called AMIROSIAN NIGHTS, and it's about Greece. And of course, you're always kind of writing about yourself, so what was I writing about? A mariachi player who goes to Greece. Okay. And then she has to help with the band because they have a sudden emergency. She gets to substitute for them a perfect summer job, playing in a bouzouki band in Greece. Well, all of this talk about Greece. I suppose what you would like right now is to hear a song in Greek. Yes. And if not, sorry. Okay, I play a little bit better to sit down. So I'm just going to do a little folk song. And it's called Barca Stoyalo. Boat on the beach. But there's really no boat, and there's really no beach. So, I don't know. Who figures these songs? Vente, vente, deca, 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 ah, me ventas calhar. Ja tanio su mate, ja ty poties, cantame quitais, no to miacharies, Barca Stoyalo. Whenever I look into your eyes, I feel knives. Very typical, happy sounding song, but there's a deeper meaning. Go figure these things, right? Vente, vente, deca, 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 da, sentica tuya. Che pensi nel viso, che pensate più, passi nel riso, microscopo, marca stoiado, now it starts by saying 5, 5, 10, I go up the stairs. So now it's going to be 5, 5, 10, I go back down the stairs. Focus on me. There you go. Cheap trip to Greece. So, very cost effective. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see. Oh, yeah, so I wrote this book, AMIROSIAN, and I can't see people if I sit down, so I'm going to stand up. And then, after that, I sent my character to Thailand. I gave her a sister to go with. Oh, I have a sister too. I wonder how much. Oh, no, I don't know. She hasn't been to Thailand, so yeah, she's right. She hasn't been to Thailand. But I make my character, Gina, have a wonderful time in Thailand. And she figures out, it's lovely to travel, but it's better if they pay you for it. Oh, so that leads us to one of the big topics at hand, CARILLON CHASE. Okay, so Gina thinks, oh wow, I got hired as an intern for the summer. They're going to send me to London or Paris or Ireland, but it doesn't really work out like that. Let me read you just a little excerpt. So she's talking to the lady that runs the travel company. You're flying me to Springfield, Illinois. Oh no, it'll be a road trip. But if you wanted to send me to Honolulu, another year, we have capital crossings all sketched out. Did I mention that different didn't mean better? What's in Springfield besides the home of the Simpsons? Oh, Gina, the lady said, you have such a great sense of humor. Humor, nothing. I was hoping that she'd see that her whole idea was ridiculous. Springfield will be a fabulous destination, she said. Phoenix, Springfield is the route I would choose myself if I had time to do any writing. Springfield is important because, well, Abraham Lincoln, of course. He lived there a long time. There's a whole museum there. A team from Disney designed it, so they say it's like visiting Disneyland. Doesn't that sound terrific? Terrific. The museum welcomes an average of 3,000 visitors a year. Do you know how good that is for a presidential museum? I had no idea. I'd never visited one, and I wasn't good with numbers. Well, bottom line is that everyone is touring Springfield, but no one is writing about it. You can. Oh boy, I thought, the Civil War, a dead president, I could already picture the scenario. I would cover Lincoln's house and museum in a single morning and have all afternoon to visit cornfields. Lots of cornfields. Lots. Too many. The only teeny tiny benefit that I could possibly think of was that I really did like popcorn. Anyway, that gives you an idea how the book starts. She's not happy about going to Springfield, but then she finds out that there's going to be a Carillon Festival. And her sister says, no. CARILLON Festival, CARILLON, bell tower. So she finds out a little bit more information, and she learns that there's going to be this festival, and there's going to be a very famous star performer from the Netherlands. She looks him up she meets him online, and he's hot, and he's blonde. And he plays very, very fast. Now, I have to tell you that I wrote this without knowing Carlo. Somebody might tell you a little bit about what happens when she gets here. She goes to one of the concerts, and she's actually up in the tower with Blinder when he's playing. But things are kind of tough. So, neither Blinder's reputation nor his previous repertoire prepared me for the dizzying speed with which he started the third movement of his Carillon concerto. He played so fast my ear couldn't take in the notes. It was as if he gathered some new energy source which he transferred to the bells. He played to the left, and he played to the right, sometimes with his feet going in opposite directions from his hands. True to his nickname, Blinder became the master butterfly. I imagine hundreds of swallowtails hovering around a meadow at the same time. I wanted to stand up and dance in circles, except that I never, ever danced. As Blinder continued, his brow creased in intense concentration. His torso pounded the bench as he reached for those foot pedals and stretched his hand. That's when I noticed the crack in the bench's back left leg. What might have started as a hairline split was now clearly visible. It stretched a couple of inches long. I couldn't hear the music anymore because I was focused on the crack that grew another inch and another. I was horrified. What were we going to do? We needed a solution, but what would we do mid-concert? What was the worst-case scenario? Well, for that, my friends, if you don't already know, you'll have to go to Carillon Chase and find out all about it. But, of course, you don't leave your characters with a happy ending. You send them on a new adventure. So that's what I had to do with Gina. So for her next adventure, I thought it'd be great to send her to Italy. All right, a whole quarter Italian, but it still counts. So anyway, in the next book, which I thought I would have for today, but the artwork isn't quite done yet. But in the next book, I send her on a little bit different excursion. So first, I should ask you, chi parla italiano? Okay. Who uses olive oil every week? Okay, all right, so good. So you'll be glad to know that this next book takes place in Orvieto, which is a little town close to Rome, and it's called Olive Lovers. And there's a lot of information about olive oil. But of course, you don't make it easy for people. You have to make them struggle, or why read the book? It wouldn't be any fun. So even though I don't have the right cover, this was just a fake. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen to Gina and her new adventure. Okay, only 2 people in the room know anything about this, so it's really fun. Yeah, so let's see. I'm going to start right where, as we bumped along, all I could think of was how mad I was at my sister. If you're tired enough,